I honestly was not meant to be an entrepreneur like people call me, nor was I actually supposed to be working. Because you see, I always thought, and a part of me still believes, that I was meant to be a wife and a mother. My plan was perfect no matter when I was asked about it, and it was just right. Married at 25, first child at 27, second child at 30, and because I was going to have a good, rich, good Jew husband, I was going to have a third child at 33. And of course, no, seriously, ask anybody that you know who knows me, and they will tell you the same thing. I had no goals, no ambitions. And of course, the only thing that I knew was that I was going to travel. But as you know, life has different things in place, and all your best plans go fud. So this is me here today, 42, no kids, no husband, no marriage on the horizon, but I travel the world, and I have a job that I'm super proud of. So this is my story. My first intersection. So, I have always been a distinction student. First class or second class was not even in my mind. When I was graduating in my TY BCom, because of my daddy dearest, he insisted that I should take accounts. Because finance, you're going to get into work, business, whatever. And I suck at maths, literally. Even now, I suck at maths. And bad luck to me, my year of graduation, 1997, our papers sucked so badly that I scraped through, whereas all my friends sailed into distinction all because they took another subject. I sulked, and I sulked so badly. My dad was so worried about my results because I still blame him a little for getting my 52% or 53%, and it hurts, even after so many years, that they didn't tell me my results for like 3-4 days. When I found out, it was like my life shattered because I didn't know what I was going to do. It looked so bleak to me. I sulked, and we didn't have too much of TV that day, at that time, but I was still watching TV. I think it must have gone on for enough time because one fine day my parents said, enough, no wailing around and watching TV. I was called to my parents' room, and I still remember that scene very vividly. My father was shaving, one cheek unshaven, and he matter-of-factly asks me, so do you want to come and work with me? Now, till then, the only thing that I knew about my dad was that he traveled like mad. He was a weekend dad because he worked super hard, and he introduced me to my love affair with shoes. So I was not even given any time to think about it. He was like, "Karuch hai?" And you know how parents are, right? Typical ones, my well-meaning intended parents. And I said, okay, so I will travel, right? And that's it, nothing else. No salary, no leave, nothing. And none of us realized that that question and that answer of mine was going to change our lives forever. I don't know if I would do that again now. My second intersection, I was 20 when I graduated and I joined office. Just before I joined office, I was out, something happened. So I was out partying with my friends. And my friend's then boyfriend, when he heard that I was going to join my dad, everybody was asking, so what are you going to do? What are you going to do? And there I was wallowing in my misery in a nice nightclub on hearing that I was going to join my dad and I was going to be working with the airlines. He says, oh, but Chaitaly, you're not going to be successful. I still remember the clothes that I wore, where I was sitting, everything. And I go like, why will I not be successful? I was so defensive. Because he said, matter of factly, you're fat and you're ugly. And if you want to work in an airline, you need to be thin, pretty, and you have to be tall. Honestly, it hurt. I mean, I have a very nice ego and a very good self-esteem, and I have grown up in a family where my genes are so good that all my sisters and my cousins, all of them are damn good looking. So it didn't really matter to me. But that guy's sentence stuck around in my head for the longest time. So, I indirectly hold him responsible for making me successful because it just kept hammering like my alarm clock goes every day in the morning, irritatingly waking me up from my sleep. And this was how it is. Now, this was the first of many, many incidents of when I was humiliated for not fitting into the mold of how a woman should look. Body shaming is what they politely call it now. Isn't it? I thus started work with doubts already. Okay, my first day at work was 12 hours on a bar stool. There was no computer, no table, no pen. There were no privileges for me. My dad is a very different person, so my training is very different. A lot of people in the industry have tried to emulate him to get their kids to be like me. Nobody has been successful. So I remain a unique piece by myself. And he had these bar stools kept only to dissuade unwanted visitors from faffing around, because you don't want people just hanging around there. I mean, seriously. I still have one of those bar stools as a reminder in my office where I sit, as a reminder to tell me every single day, look how far you have come. You don't sit on that bar stool anymore. You have a cabin now. So my dad, as much as I share a love-hate relationship with him, he's the reason why I am standing here talking in front of all of you. I owe him everything professionally. In fact, he's the reason why people think I'm a connoisseur of food, because when I wanted to go out and I had to eat by myself alone the first time, he told me on the phone. I was in my Bangalore office. I was not even 25 at that time. If you can't go out and eat alone, stay hungry. And I remember banging the phone down, put, and saying, you know what, to hell with it. I will just go out and eat on my own. So today I can go into a dive bar or into a Michelin star restaurant or a pop-up, make friends with strangers and talk food and connect. Some of my best business happens that way. But, so, like coming back to my training. So my training started very differently. I traveled by bus and he traveled by car, which was fine. It didn't really matter. When office closed, after office hours, the first day, I went to ask permission of him, okay, can I leave? Because I had to go back by bus. And he turns around and says, that's it. Interest is over. You're not working anymore. And we didn't have cell phones, right? Back in 1997. So I went back to call my mom to complain. Look, this is what dad is saying. And she, to my horror, says, don't you want to work? Are you done? 6:30 you want to leave? And this went on for a couple of days, because every time that I went to ask permission to leave, he kept around and telling me, see, I have a history of leaving stuff that I started doing. So that kind of played in my parents' mind. I mean, I'm giving them the benefit of doubt. And it just, it went on, and I was so frustrated and I was furious. So, and it's a bad combination, especially for me. And I went like, and with that guy's words banging in my head, I went like, that's it. Now it's time for me to prove to everyone, once and for all, that I deserve to be here. And therefore, started my learning journey and my career into the logistics industry. Oh, I forgot to say, I'm Chaitaly Mehta from the logistics industry. My company is EKF Global Logistics Private Limited, and I firmly believe that we in the logistics industry are to the world economy what a spinal cord is to the human body. Abused, undervalued, and overworked, and definitely underpaid. So, I started working and I started training and all of that till it came to a point that when my export manager, because I was working in the core department, which was the heart of the company, air exports, till she went on leave, I took over the department. I added on one of our biggest clients to date that we have, and all of this was done before I was even 25 years old. And this resulted in my next intersection, which was probably the most painful one that I've had. Third intersection. Life teaches you many things, many lessons. Sometimes it all just comes together, and it comes when you think that you don't have the bandwidth, you don't have the strength or the ability to continue. I think that is the defining moment when a person learns his or her character. You see, you could have a healthy self-esteem, you could have a backbone of steel, or you could create one. That makes you think that you are unstoppable or you are invincible. To me, no, it's wrong. What it makes you is so strong that strength becomes you and you become the strength, and that's what you stand for. That's precisely something that happened to me. My training continued. I finally stopped traveling by bus at my dad's friend's insistence, and I was being paid. You see, all this while my father was using me as free labor. Seriously, they had to tell him, start paying Chaitaly now. Around this time, I started going to law school too, because I needed a degree after my BCom, but it was just to give exams. One fine day after I resumed, after my exams were over, I was matter-of-factly told, Chaitaly, you're being moved. You're no longer in the export department. I was surprised, I was taken aback, and that started an avalanche which took a very long time for me to recover from, probably about 4 or 5 years or so. But the effects were so widespread that the only thing that could help me was therapy. Yes, I suffered depression. temporarily, because I took the help which was required for it. But it was a defining moment in my life at that point of time. Some of my epic successes have come when I was making or breaking records. Everybody thought I was at the top of my game, but I was actually broken inside. I did some of the most amazing things that even I think is amazing for myself, all before I reached 30. And now when I look back at it, I don't know how I survived it. I guess it's just internal strength. So when my training was going on and I was being shunted, I felt I was being shunted from one department to another department. I didn't know what to do with myself, you see, because my training wasn't going well. I broke down so often. I cried. I was I was put in accounts, which is like, asking a person who loves the city to go into nature. Imagine bit by a whole bunch of ants because you don't know where the ant hill is. And it was some days worst for me. At that time is when I came up with an epiphany that what if the airlines with whom we work, we turned out to be their service providers, that we turn out to do customs clearance for them, because you see international airlines have teams over here in India. They would need stationery, they would need IT equipment, they would need uniforms for their ground staff. What if we could do that for them? And thus I ventured into a vertical and created a space where there was only one company doing this before, and the result is that we broke a 40-year-old monopoly, and I stand in front of you, the first woman pan-India who's doing this. There's nobody else besides me, and we are the largest today in Bombay, probably in India, because we service everything that for the airline. We service cargo, the catering, in-flight catering, as well as engineering. So when an aircraft is on ground and you see those reporters going, oh, this aircraft has skid and this has what has happened, the people who bring in the equipment for them and do the customs clearance for them so that the aircraft moves, that's us. It's also quite possibly that when you fly internationally, it's my team, because of which you would have food and beverages on board, those fancy toiletry kits that all of us in economy class covet, because I travel cattle class most of my times, and the lucky business class passengers get the tow bar that pushes the aircraft into the bay and pulls it out when we are ready to take off. That's all us. In fact, to my surprise, the first self-check-in kiosk, if I'm not mistaken, was for KLM, and we cleared it. So for the longest time, when I passed through the KLM station to go to immigration on my way out, I would wave out hi to the kiosk, because it made me feel so proud that it's because of my team that we have a kiosk. Jet Airways, Indigo, all the other international carriers brought their kiosks in much later. This difficult time, I honestly, when I was ready to give up, there was this one particular incident that played back and back. I should say I'm a little bit dramatic. I blame it on my mom because she introduced me to Barbara Cartlin when I was 15 or 16. And then I was reading a whole bunch of books, so my emotions come from there. I graduated from HR college. So our then principal, Professor Ajwani, God bless his soul, loved to tell us this one particular incident because we were the geeks or the so-called students who were doing special subjects. I did graduate with travel and tourism. And we always used to go, hey Bhagwan, not the same story again. But little did I know that that story was going to keep me going. There was this play. Everybody was involved in it except for one student because he was not considered good enough. So the teacher very politely, to make him feel nice, said, you know what, it's okay if you're not in the play, but you have the most important job, and that is to clap. Because I don't think the play is going to be successful, but your clapping is going to make it successful. Everybody thought, बिचारे को ध्यान, दया आ गई, हम लोग इसको कर रहे हैं. But no, the boy didn't think that. So he practiced and he practiced and he practiced. The D-Day arrived and the play actually was a failure. But the boy, his practicing was so good, he clapped, and it was so infectious that the entire auditorium burst out clapping with him. And the play was deemed a success because of him. I figured that I was that boy and my work was that my clap, because in my heart I thought that maybe I wasn't good enough for my work, that my dad had to move me from one department into something completely else, because there were days and there were months when I used to look at the walls. I had tears falling down. And there was life on the other side of the office of where it was. So the highlight for me, where I was sitting, was the coming and going of the postman, delivering the mail, telex messages, and of course, newspapers being delivered. I actually planned my day according to that because there was air on the other side. I wasn't allowed to breathe into it. I would look at my dad through his cabin windows because I was sitting right outside his cabin. But he's made of sterner stuff, that man. I mean, he wouldn't relent. He was like, no, you are clear, you're going to be here. So this is what I felt, and that is why I look up to Professor Rajwani, because his incident kept me going through the difficult times. Today, I stand proudly amongst you, the first woman in the air cargo industry pan-India, because we've always had managers and we've always had lower level women. Nobody at my level doing operations and doing the kind of stuff that I do. I don't think there's anybody still who does the kind of stuff I do, and I'm not even boasting, it's a fact. I am also an office bearer of two of our industries associations, the first woman and the clubs have been formed last 30, 40 years. So yes, I'm the first woman there. I'm also the first woman to handle helicopters pan-India. So a lot of places, I'm either known as the chopper lady or wo helicopter wali lady hai na, usko phone kar dena. Because we transport helicopters, both imports and exports. And yes, in the field of helicopters, everybody knows me because everybody does compartmentalized work. My company, we do everything except for the dismantling and the technical work. I am asked quite often, why am I so strong? Why am I so fearless? And the word that I hate the most, aggressive. Because you see, in a man, aggressive is a virtue, a sign of strength. In a woman, it is like, oh, she's difficult. I still have people tell me, Chaitaly, जरा आराम से बात करना, उसको aggressive मत करना. He is going to get afraid of you. You give too much of complex to people. And I go like, it's my mom. She's the strongest person that I know. She's sitting here in this audience. She told me, if you are right, you fight. You earn the respect, not because of who you are or what is your pedigree, because of the kind of work that you do. If there is nobody to protect your back, you create your own shield. You guard your own six, but you never ever give up. In all the times that I had to go through, and there were times when I thought, I'm going to just give up, I told myself I could be a lot of things that people told me that I was good, bad, ugly, but the one thing that I was not a quitter. So no, I didn't quit, and I guess that's why I am this successful. I have a long road in front of me, but if I had quit, I wouldn't be here, and my journey wouldn't have been the same. And therefore, before I close, I would like to request all of you that in honor of that little boy who may or may not have been real, if we could just all clap for ourselves, because we all matter.